Fantasy football is supposed to be fun, unless you have no idea what you're doing. If fantasy football feels like a foreign language to you, don't worry, we're here to help. So what is fantasy football? Well, besides it being the reason that most guys can't stop looking at their phones from September to January, fantasy football is a simple game. It's a game that you can play on your phone where you draft real NFL players onto your fantasy roster, which you then manage for the entire season. Each week, players rack up points based off of their real-life performances. Passing yards, rushing yards, touchdowns, receptions, and even mistakes like fumbles or interceptions all impact your score. The goal is to outscore your opponent. Most leagues have 10 to 12 teams and they run for about 14 weeks. In a standard 12-team league, each team will face off at least once, leading to a single elimination playoff where the best of the best compete. If you win there, you could become a league champion. Back in the 1960s when fantasy football first began, keeping score would have been a nightmare, but with the rise of online platforms, fantasy football has exploded in popularity, making the game accessible to everyone. And once you start playing, you'll never watch football the same way again. That being said, not all fantasy football leagues are created equal, so here are the 4 main fantasy formats that you're going to need to know. First, you have redraft leagues. This is the most common format and the best option for beginners. You draft a brand new team every season, and once the season ends, your roster resets. There's no long-term commitment, you just draft, you play, and you start fresh next year. Second is keeper league settings. In this format, you have an initial draft, and then you keep a few of your players at the end of the season. This adds more strategy because you have to think beyond just one season and build around your best players. This makes things like a player's age much more important. Third, there's dynasty leagues. This is for serious players who want the full experience of running a team long term. You keep your entire roster year after year and you only draft rookies each season. Trades often include next year's draft picks and it's the closest thing to being an actual NFL general manager. Finally, there's best ball leagues. And in this format, you draft a team and that's it. The system automatically starts your highest scoring players each week. So no lineup changes, no waivers, no in-season management. You just draft and let the results play out. If you're new to fantasy football, a 10 to 12 team redraft league with PPR scoring is the best way to start. It's the easiest to learn and it keeps the competition fair for everyone. So let's talk a little bit more about those scoring systems. In fantasy football, scoring is pretty simple. Here's how your players can earn or lose points each week based off of their real-life performances. Quarterbacks earn 1 point for every 25 passing yards and 4 points for each passing touchdown. If they get sacked, if they throw an interception, or if they fumble, they will lose points accordingly. Other ball carriers and pass catchers get 1 point for every 10 yards they gain, whether they're rushing or receiving. If they score a touchdown, that's an additional 6 points. At the end of the week, your total scores compared to your opponents. Score more than them and you will win. It's literally that simple. Now let's see if you were paying attention. If a running back rushes for 20 yards and a touchdown, how many fantasy points did he score? If you said 8, you're right. See, scoring is simple once you know the scoring system. Now keep in mind that there are 4 main scoring systems in fantasy football, and those are as follows. First, there's standard scoring, also referred to as non-PPR. In this format, touchdowns matter the most. Players earn points for yards and touchdowns, but receptions don't count for anything. This makes high-volume receivers less valuable, and it puts the focus on touchdown-heavy running backs and big play wide receivers. The second format is PPR scoring, or points per reception. This is actually the most popular format today, and if you're still playing in a standard league, most people will probably call you a grandpa. Every catch is worth an extra point, which boosts the value of wide receivers, tight ends, and pass-catching running backs. Third, there's half PPR. As the name implies, each reception is worth half a point. This format prevents low-yardage receivers from dominating while still rewarding players who get a lot of targets. And finally, there are custom and bonus scoring leagues. And these leagues can get crazy sometimes. I once created a league where a player could score a bonus point per reception, but only if that reception resulted in a first down. So it's always important to check the rules and know how the points are calculated before you draft or set your lineups. Now that you know how fantasy football works, you've got 2 options. You can either join a league or start your own. The quickest way to start is by joining an existing league. Ask your friends, your family, or a coworker. Someone probably has a league with an open spot, and you can just join one of theirs. You can also join a public league on one of the many fantasy football apps that are out there. There's also a second option. You can run your own league and set it up exactly how you want. You would pick the platform, choose the league format, set the scoring rules, schedule the draft, and invite all the players. But if you're a beginner, I highly recommend playing in someone else's league first before you start running your own. Whether you're playing for bragging rights or trying to win some cash, football is always more interesting when you have your own roster. So in the next video, we're going to talk about the top draft day strategies that you're going to need to win. If you found this video helpful, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to learn more.